Okay. All right. Awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for being here again. I'm so excited to introduce Julie here, Gates, to all of you. And she's going to talk about a really, really powerful topic tonight about profiting in the shared economy. And when we were talking, connecting on a few things, she shared that you can rent out your cat. And I was like, hold on. And I'm in the multifamily space, so I'm like very linear sometimes. So I'm so excited to have Julie on. She's a powerhouse in a short-term rental business. I'm going to introduce her in a moment, but I want to share a little bit about our community. And again, as you're joining us, please say hello in the chat box. But again, for those who don't know who I am, my name's Liz. I'm one of the co-founders of this community, the real estate investor community. What's really cool is that as we grow and evolve, more and more women are coming into our free community, our Facebook community, or you're joining us through Meetup. Or you heard us on our podcast. So I wanted to share our mission and just some things we have going on to serve you in our community here. So our mission is to empower women to live a financially free and balanced life. And if you listen to our podcast, you always hear Andressa say, whatever balance means to you, because it isn't about like this perfect balance. We're not really after perfection at all. And really, perfect balance is not even realistic. We all know that. But what does balance look like for you? And so that's what we're all about, and also helping you through real estate investing, just creating a business, not just a hobby, and self-care. So we do have meetups across the country. Our goal is that we have a meetup in every part of the globe. That would be really neat. So you can go to Italy and go to Investor Meetup, or wherever you want to go. We do have a podcast. So we are published now by Bigger Pockets, which is super cool. For those who don't know, we just came on board. They're kind of like they release our podcast that were published through them. And we release 2 a week, Tuesday and a Friday. So the Minnesota and an interview. So check that out. Our Facebook community, which many of you are very familiar with, is a very giving community of giving and getting and just supporting each other on our journey. We do have a free membership of just great content and community. We also have a paid membership, our SOAR and our Strive membership. We're opening the doors to Strive in December. So stay tuned on that. We have released a book, The Only One in the Room, and actually our anniversary is just about coming up. And we're going to be releasing more books that are women-focused and women-centric, that are obviously authored by women too. And we always have sponsorship opportunities of organizations to collaborate with. And then lastly, we're really excited about working. We have a team, the Investor EXP team, for women who are looking to change brokerages or just looking to join us. We are doing some really neat things around women who not only want to grow their agent business, but also want to do it in a way that also grows their investments. So we got a lot of things happening, but we're all about serving you. And we do a lot of free content, free webinars for those who are not familiar with us. And without further ado, and then you can follow us in lots of different ways. So I want to get back to Julie here because I want to have as much time as I can having Julie present and then kind of asking her tons of questions. So a little bit about Julie. She's an entrepreneur and real estate investor, and she's based in Savannah, Georgia, one of the places I want to get to, Julie. So I mark my words when I'm coming down to see you. But she specializes in short-term rentals. Her favorite rental model is what she calls a long short, furnished rentals with a minimum of 30 nights or more. She started her short-term rental management company, Sid Was Here, in 2017. The company's grown to over 50 properties in Savannah and around the United States. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing here. I'm going to give the floor to Miss Julie, and I'm going to field questions. I'm going to be her co-pilot here tonight. And if you have questions, if you can, put them in the Q&A box. That's why we're using the webinar, because then I love the women in our community because they're going to be putting things in the chat like through the whole time. But if you ask questions there, I might lose it. So make sure you ask questions in the Q&A, and I'll field them. We'll make sure everyone gets supported. And just thank you so much for making time to be here, all of you. And Julie, without further ado, thanks so much for being here with us, and appreciate your time so much.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here. This is one of my favorite topics. And I really, if any one of you know me, I love to have fun and I like to have a very good time. And so hopefully you'll smile a few times in this presentation. I definitely tried to make it a little out there, but that's, hopefully you stay awake. Hopefully no one falls asleep. I'm sorry, let me move into present mode. So anyway, this is my presentation. Oops, I'm so sorry. Let me see.
No
Here we
worries.
go.
Julie, if you need anything, I'm gonna just mute myself, so just
Yeah.
to reduce any sort of background sound. But I'm literally here with you, so don't feel like I left the room or anything.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you're there. I genuinely hope this will be interactive. I'm happy to hear your thoughts and questions, and hopefully, it'll spur something in your mind. So this is my presentation about the shared economy. It's called How to Cash Flow on Your Cat. Okay. And we are going to talk about cash flowing on your cat. So I just want you guys to see how many assets you have sitting around that you may not even realize. So maybe tonight you learn something very random, and that's really my goal. So I hope that you'll enjoy this. Let's see. Sorry. A little bit about me. My name is Julie Gates, as Liz said, and I have a company called Sid Was Here. Our logo is a squirrel. My son runs a squirrel rescue, and the first squirrel he ever rescued, her name was Sid. And I started seeing squirrels everywhere when I was looking at real estate. I'm a real estate investor, as I'm sure all of you are as well. So if you see a squirrel, just think of me. It's a little bit weird, but I like it. I like being a little bit different, and I think it fits well with this subject. So what we're going to talk about tonight is the shared economy, and Wikipedia describes that as a socioeconomic system built around the sharing of resources. Okay, so the concept that we're going after is that you have a resource and I want you to share it with someone else, but I want you to get paid to do that. Okay, I don't mean like give them half of your sandwich. I mean get paid to give them half of your sandwich. Okay, so that's what we're going for with the shared economy. The shared economy is growing every day, and you need to be a part of it. And I am definitely a part of it. So back to my title, How to Cash Flow on Your Cat. I want you to meet Kobe. Kobe is on Instagram. I only put up his Instagram handle, but he is Kobe the Cat on Instagram. He has 2,200 posts, 1.9 million followers, and he's following all of 193 people. I think he's about 6 years old. And in 2021, Kobe the Cat is expected to bring his owners upwards of $5 million. Okay. Do you believe me yet? The shared economy is real. These owners got Kobe as a kitten. They decided that he had beautiful, what they call guy liner, and that he was very photogenic, and they started photographing him, and then they kept photographing him, and then they did it some more. And their cat now has sponsorships. His image is licensed out to different retailers. He's on billboards. He's on tattoos. Like Kobe the Cat is everywhere. And these people do not work. All they do is photograph their cat, and they're going to make $5 million. And that's the shared economy. Like, if we told our grandparents this, 80 years ago, they'd probably be like, you're crazy. You're totally making this up. But this is an actual fact. I would love every one of you to have a cat that brings in $5 million. But I just want you to know every single one of you has something sitting around your house that's going to bring you money. You just have to realize that you can. Okay. That's really what it's about, is just taking the walls away. With the shared economy, there are no walls. The sky is the limit. How did I get started? Okay. I live what I preach, and I work in the shared economy every single day. As Liz said, I do run a management company for short-term rentals. My husband and I have been buying real estate for a while. And back in 2017, I said, man, it is getting harder and harder to come up with the cash for the down payment on these rental properties. I have a feeling that you guys are in this. I mean, pretty much anyone is in the same boat, I would assume, that, coming up with that cash is just painful. So I thought, well, what do I have that I can cash flow on? Because I'm already working pretty hard and I have a couple of kids. There's only so much time in the day. Well, we've lived on here in Savannah for quite a while. I have a pool house, and it was already furnished and everything. And I said, well, I heard about Airbnb, and I said, I'm going to just try this. And at first my husband was like, I don't know. And I said, well, let's try it. If we hate it, we'll stop. I mean, it's short term. We're not stuck with anybody. So I put my pool house on Airbnb, really not sure if anyone would book it, because I am not in the historic district of Savannah. We live on property, like we're outside of town. It did great. And not only did it do well financially, I loved it. I just really enjoyed hosting. I enjoyed the customer service. There's a lot of technology with short-term rentals. I just kind of went crazy. So within a couple of months, I was like, this is awesome. And I said, what else can I cash flow on? Well, guess what? We had another building on our property because we have a good, some acreage. I had another building and it was being used as storage. It did not have running water when I, decided to cash flow on it. I mean, it was a complete hot mess. So I started I had already been saving up the money from my first Airbnb, my pool house. And I took that money and I used that money to put into my second home that I had already. Luckily I had the building. Okay. I totally acknowledge that. So that money from the first helped me rehab and put together the second. So the first one was called the Quiet Coastal Home and the second one was called Starfish. And this took me many months. Okay. Do not think this happened like in 5 minutes. I painted every wall, every ceiling, every floorboard, not every floorboard, every bit of trim. Like I did so much of the work myself, my husband, my kids, my assistant, like we worked so hard on this house that the second one was a full, complete rehab. And the numbers that I have here, these are actual gross numbers, okay, from these houses. Obviously, the lower numbers are what we were able to get the first year, but this is real money. Like you actually can save up for other properties when you're doing this. And I wanted you to see that there are real dollars and cents here when you take something, turn it into an asset, and do a good job with it. People are willing to pay you to use it temporarily. So this was such a game changer for me personally. My first one bought my second. Well, it helped rehab the second. My first and second bought the third. I then purchased a home specifically to furnish it and put it up as a short-term rental. And every house, that I bought since has bought others. And I'm just so thankful for the shared economy. This was really my first foray into the shared economy. And I honestly, if I can do it, I know that you all can do it as well. So
Julie,
yes,
not to interrupt you there.
please.
I want to interrupt you. The Rosemary is asking, are those numbers annual figures?
Yes.
Okay.
Gross figures, annual. So I didn't put the years. I didn't want to get too detailed, but these are actual gross numbers since I started. Okay.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So you guys can do this too, but my house pays me to live in it. Okay. And that's the truth. I have my house. I have my guest house or my pool house. Okay. I rent it out as a nightly rental. I also have a HELOC on my home, which the pool house is part of my property, right? It adds quite a bit of value to it and the pool, and my guests do use the pool. So I have a nice HELOC on my personal home. So now when I find a property, I'm able to put in an offer on that property because of my HELOC. I'll say, I'll give you this much in cash. Let's say I'm offering $50,000 for a house, which I have. And I say, that's a $50,000 all cash offer. I don't actually have that in my bank account, but I have it in my home equity line of credit. So if my offer is accepted, on closing day, I call my bank and I say, hey, transfer 50,000 from my HELOC over to this lawyer's account. And they do, and I'm able to purchase a home in cash. Okay. Then I'm going to rehab it. If it needs it, it usually does. I'm going to furnish it. I'm going to start making it cash flow. And then I'm going to do a cash out refi with the bank. And then I get all my cash back. I pay off my HELOC. And now I have that again to use. Okay. So that's one of the ways I profit from my own personal home. Second is Starfish. It's on my property. This is the other building that we rehabbed and made into an Airbnb. Starfish, I also rent it out as a nightly rental. It does very well. It's a beautiful Henry Ford home. It's a historic home, actually. And I didn't even realize how nice it was till I rehabbed it. I've also rented it out for movies, and the yard is ginormous. So we rent it out for events and also for storage. So you see, I'm taking one asset and I'm trying to make multiple sources of income off of it. And this is how you get paid to live in your home. There's a million other ways to do it. I'm just showing you how I do it personally. But if you keep thinking outside the box, you'll do even better than me. I hope that for every single one of you. So the biggest concept of the shared economy is that you're going to turn liabilities into assets. Okay. You can buy anything with this. For me, I'm looking to buy real estate. That's my motivation. It's going to be a lot of work. But if you're motivated, you're going to definitely do it. You may want to go on a huge vacation. I mean, you may want to do this and say, once a year, I'm going to do a blowout trip with my husband. Awesome. You may want college for your kids. The sky is literally the limit on this. You have to say, I'm willing to put the work in with the shared economy thing, and this is what I want. So have your starting point, have your end point, figure it out. Sorry. Okay. So, oops, I'm so sorry. There we go. I want to talk to you about my friend Tina. She's a very good friend of mine. This is not an actual photo. This is an approximation. But I spent some time with her. I meet up with her a couple times a year because we don't live in the same town. And she was lamenting to me that she needed money for college. She has several children. And I said, well, you're living in your launch pad. What do you have that you can profit on? I always, say that to myself often. You're living in your launch pad. You've got something. I had something. So we're talking, and finally we came across, I said, you guys have a farm that you enjoy using. Her family had purchased a farm outside of town where they live. They live in a, city, but they would travel out to this farm and they loved it. It was their like weekend retreat or whatever. And I said, you should put your farm on Airbnb. She said, oh, it's 100-year-old farmhouse. Nobody would rent that. She said all the things that I said about my pool house, which is like, who in the world would rent this? Like, I don't know. And I said, I think it'd be great. And we talked about it and she was like, hard no. And a couple of weeks later, she called me and she said, I've got a handyman out of the farm. I'm getting it ready. I'm putting on a new lock. It was already furnished. And I said, you're doing it. I'm so excited. And she said, yep, I'm doing it. So the cool thing was it just blew up on her. Like it's literally in the middle of nowhere, but people really loved it. And she absolutely fell in love with hosting on Airbnb. And again, she already had this liability sitting there. They had never bought it with an intention to make any money on it. It wasn't anything crazy fancy. It was just a cute little farmhouse on some acreage. And they had put some animals out there. And she and her husband were driving out 2 or 3 days a week to care for the animals. So, very quickly, she was able to cash flow on this farm. And about 7-8 months later, she called me and she said, my daughter signed up for college today and I paid cash. And I'm like, no way. She had done a very smart thing. She started an online checking account that she and her husband couldn't easily access. She told Airbnb, send every bit of money that comes in from a farmhouse to that account right there. And she just let it stack up. And when her daughter started college, 7-8 months later, she had cash in the bank and she was really proud of that. I mean, she did not have to take out a loan for her daughter and she really enjoyed what she was doing as well. But I was so happy for her. I just can't even tell you. It was just awesome to see like this total turnaround where it's like, you feel like you can't, and then you realize that you totally can, and you've got this. And I'm still proud of her. She's amazing. She's has even more Airbnbs right now. But, so for her farmhouse, I just want to show you the steps that she took, and it was phenomenal. She took the old farmhouse. She was already making it cute. You don't want to put garbage, but it was a nice little farmhouse, but old. She put it on Airbnb. She started noticing how much the guests enjoyed the animals. They had pigs. Have pigs, donkeys, horses. Don't know if they had goats, but they had several different animals out there. So she said, oh, the guests really keep asking me about the animals. So she started putting up signs. This is Smiley. This is Davy. This is so-and-so. And then she put the food out where it was accessible, where the guests would really enjoy feeding the animals. So all of a sudden, my girl was not driving out 45 minutes twice a week. She had the guests working for her. They're paying her to stay in her farmhouse. And then they would be like, hey, can I go feed the horses again? And she's like, absolutely. So I thought she was a genius, and the guests love it. It gave her all these great reviews. She had them working for her for free. She's a total genius. The next thing she did was add a camping trailer, and she's trying to add a few more now. So on a different part of the property, she's adding these small little campsites and also Airbnb-ing those out. And she's cash flowing multiple sources on the same exact property. She's bringing in cash flow. The next thing she did, I'm not sure where she found it, but she found this humongous flatbed trailer, and it's a wood base. She pulled the trailer out in front of the barn. She made a really cool backdrop. She put just benches around. And I mean, this flatbed trailer it's probably a hay trailer. I guess I don't probably speak farm, but it seats probably 30 people around this table. The trailer is now a table with benches around it. So she's able to rent out this event space for school children, weddings, corporate events, people that go, hey, let's have a farm party. They're now calling my girl Tina. So she's got people staying in the farmhouse. She has people in the trailer, the little tow behind trailers, and she has people renting her event space, sometimes all at once, sometimes one at a time. And they love it. She put up little lights around, the string lights. I mean, she's a genius at taking one single liability and turning it into an asset 12 different ways. And this is completely on her own. She fell in love with one, added another, added another, added another. I've done the same thing in a different way, but I just want you to see that this is something that anyone can do. And she has so many sources of income off of that one property, and she's adding more every year. Like, it's just become her canvas. I'm so excited for her. So again, this is something that anyone can do. This is not like 5 bajillionaires that are pooling their money together. This is a single, a person with a small asset turning it into giant cash flow, quite frankly. So the first question for all of you that I would ask is, what is it that you want to invest in? You want to be creative. What do you have around your house that you can use to make cash flow? Do you have a unique ability or an asset? One thing that I haven't figured out to cash flow yet is I really enjoy sewing. I spend a lot of time working and I'm usually sleeping, but when I'm not, I tend to be sewing. And I haven't figured out how to cash flow on that, but you have some unique ability that someone else doesn't have. And have you been asked to do things? Have you been asked to sing or create something? You have to figure that out for yourself. But once you figure out how to cash flow it, it's so exciting. Look around your house. What is collecting dust? It might be your husband. I don't know. I'm just kidding. But something that's not being used could be something that could bring you cash flow. And like I have said previously, if you have any special skills that can really start to put cash in your pocket, you just have to monetize it. And honestly, the biggest thing you can do is realize that you can monetize pretty much everything. So I feel it's impossible to talk about the shared economy without mentioning Airbnb first. They are probably the industry leader. I do personally work for them. They work for me. I work for them. And I'm a big fan. So I really want to give them a big shout out here. Airbnb is a huge economy leader, and they've been a big part of the shared economy. So if you're not aware of this company, I want to make you aware of this company. And I really want to point out some big things. I feel like Airbnb doesn't get enough credit sometimes, and they truly have changed the world. They are making a big difference in minority and elderly communities, and especially women's communities. I do want to say that 55% of Airbnb hosts are women, and they're the best at it. I mean, this is right up our alley. We're great hostesses. We like to cook. We enjoy decorating. We enjoy caring for people. Typically, this really goes to our strengths. Airbnb has over 400,000 senior citizen hosts, and that's a big deal. These are people that want to share. They want to give back. They want to be a part of the community, and Airbnb, has really made this possible for them. Senior women are rated as the platform's best hosts, and that's a big deal. That is a really big deal to have that label. So Airbnb has also helped a lot with home affordability. The hotel lobby is very strong, and they like to say that Airbnb is killing communities and killing neighborhoods. But I do want to give them a shout out and say that Airbnb has allowed a lot of people to stay in their homes. I have a friend, Lisa, who was telling me a while back, she had heard about Airbnb through myself, and she went and stayed with her son in an Airbnb in Florida. And she really got to know the lady that was hosting. It was an elderly lady. And she said, why are you doing this? She said, it's a beautiful home. My friend's staying in her master suite. And the lady said, my husband passed and I could never afford this home on Social Security. And she said, of course, as soon as he passed away, my income went less than half than what I was making. And she said, I don't want to move. I don't want to change my lifestyle. I want this home. And if my family's coming to visit, I just block the calendar and we're still using it just like I always pictured. But because of Airbnb, she's able to host people in her home. My friend said she was an amazing host, but she's very honest that because of the shared economy, she's able to stay in her home. And I just think that's wonderful. None of us want to have a big change at that age. If you want to stay in your home, what a blessing to be able to do that. So I'm really thankful that it's helping, especially minority women. They have said, I didn't add that to the slide, I'm sorry, but minority women have been big beneficiaries of Airbnb and the shared economy because they have their home and they can cash flow from it. And that's a really big deal. So I think it's always important to look at the positive that these big companies are doing. It really can make a difference for these families. Other platforms I'm sure you're aware of, Uber and Lyft, you can click a button and have someone come pick you up. I mean, this is just revolutionary just in the last few years. I also want to give them a shout out. They don't know for sure, but the estimates are that we have 25 to 35% less drunk drivers on the road every day because of Uber and Lyft. I have 2 teenage sons who are on the road and often in the evening. And I'm just so thankful for this, you guys. I don't wish a drunk driver on anyone. And in my opinion, if you have a smartphone, there is absolutely no excuse for driving drunk. And I think a lot of people recognize that. Like, it's just too easy to get a ride. And this is because of the shared economy. That 100%, that's what's made the difference. We also have Turo. They're getting bigger. You can rent your car when you aren't using it. A car can be an asset. Everyone's going to tell you your car is a liability, but I'm here to tell you tonight, your car is absolutely an asset and can be. Another big thing for Turo is it's available for 21-year-olds and up. They have excellent insurance. And especially in this day and age when we're having a hard time getting rentals because of all the COVID stuff where they sold them off, Turo has really come along. So it's opened up an opportunity for the shared economy. So if you have an extra car that you're not using, or even you don't use it part of the time, I strongly encourage you to check out Turo. You can make great money. Many people are using Turo to pay for their car payment. Turo, I think the most popular car on Turo is a Toyota Prius, but there's a big market on Turo for luxury cars. So if you wanted a Tesla, maybe a nice Mercedes, maybe a Lamborghini, I don't know, you might be able to rent that out half the month and enjoy driving it the other half, and your guests are going to pay you for it. I mean, what an amazing concept that is to me. We also have Postmates, Uber Eats, DoorDash. These are shared economy. These are people in your community that are making extra money, taking the food from the restaurant to your home. And it also helps, the local restaurant owners. So that's a big deal that we have, this shared economy. These are some other things I want to bring to your attention. I love crazy stuff. So forgive me as I entertain myself for a minute. The app that I desperately want every one of you to help me bring back, because it's not functional right now, and we need this app in our lives, okay, is called AirPnP, okay? AirPnP. This is an app where you can cash flow on your toilet. Did anyone just fall over? Because that is true. So the concept is, and I love this concept. Let's say you live in a city where you have a lot of events. Let's say New Orleans, you have Mardi Gras. Let's say you live in New York City and, Times Square goes crazy on New Year's Eve. I'm in Savannah, Georgia. We have the 3rd largest St. Patty's Day celebration in the US. Okay. It's crazy. How many of you want to use the porta potties when you're at these large events? I don't think anyone just said yes. It's horrible. Airbnb, myself as a homeowner, I can register my toilet on Airbnb. I take photos. I put in the exact address. Okay. It's just like Airbnb. I love this. I can register it. I post it. And this would just be for large events. This is not 24/7. Okay. But, let's say I'm in Savannah and St. Patty's Day is coming up. I'm going to register my toilet. And then you as the user are going to go on to Airbnb and go, I need to go to the bathroom and I'm not using that mess over there. So you can say, what's near me? What's the price? What are the ratings? There's a rating system and everything. I love this. You can say, oh, Julie's toilet is available and it's only $6. I'm going to walk 2 blocks and use that. I would totally do that. So they pay through the app, just like Airbnb. As soon as they're paid, they get my address and it helps them, navigate around. I let them in, they do their business, they flush, they leave. I get paid. So you can make hundreds of dollars a day using Airbnb. Like, I don't know. I just love it. Like, how crazy if you can pay your house payment or something with your toilet. I just think that would be fantastic. So help me out in getting this back going. Like, I'm trying to start a petition for Airbnb. I think it's awesome. I love weird things though. Another part of the shared economy, which I think is fantastic. I don't know if any of you are doctors, but there are many doctors that would love to cut back and have a way to make a source of income. I mean, these are highly trained individuals. There are so many websites now, and it's a shared economy where the doctor, let's say it's a licensed GI doctor or maybe a licensed brain surgeon. I don't even know. But you're talking about board certified people. They register with their site. There's many sites, or I would have given it to you. And then you go, let's say you have a weird thing on your, colonoscopy, and you go, I want a second opinion. Well, getting a second opinion is a nightmare, right? You have to get insurance approval. You have to drive across town. You have to take off of work. Nobody has time for that. The shared economy is all about making your life easier. So you can get on one of these sites. Again, let's say we had a colonoscopy with some questionable results, and I say, I don't trust Dr. X. I want to talk to another doctor. I would sign up. I would see the fee. I'm not sure what they are. You can upload your documents that you received from your first doctor and get paid that doctor for a second opinion. So now you have a second doctor sitting on their couch in their pajamas, cash flowing on their years of experience. And what a wonderful way to bring in a second source of income. You don't have to be a doctor. There are sites for all kinds of things, but I just wanted to give this as a great example of the shared economy. You can literally cash flow in your PJs and do a good job for people, doing a service. You can stay for free on your vacation by pet sitting. Very, very commonly done. You do have to get a background check. They're not going to just let anyone in. But I know people that have traveled to Paris and had free lodging because the family there had pets that they loved and cared for. And they said, I will let you, as long as you're a good person or whatever, verified, you can stay in my home for you put in your dates. And as long as you walk the pet, feed the pet, love on the pet, you stay for free in their home, take care of the animals, and you're out all day sightseeing. Like, it's a great win-win. They're not having to pay to board their animals. Their animals aren't traumatized, and they have someone in their home that they have been, has been pretty heavily vetted. It's truly a win-win. And that's what the shared economy is about, is a win-win, is what can you share and help someone else with, but also get paid for that. So keep that in mind in case you enjoy travel. I love travel. There are also location scouts. You can register and say, hey, I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I would be happy to be a location scout. You can register on different websites. And if a production is going there and they contact you and they say, Jeff, I need a red barn, next to a silo. I don't even know. And you can submit photos and options, and you will get paid for doing that driving and looking for locations. I mean, this is not rocket science. All you have to be is creative and have a computer, and you can be cash flowing on random stuff. Liz, this is for you. I know you have multifamily complexes. What facilities can you cash flow on? Can you rent out your pool for events? Can you rent out your basketball court? Do you have parking? And are you in an amazing location? Like, let's say you have an apartment complex next to where the Miami Dolphins play. Let me tell you, if I did, and I don't, but I wish I did, that I would clear out my tenants on game day, and I would rope that sucker off, and I'd be charging $50 a car. I mean, you already have the dang parking lot, but I'll bet there's a way to cash flow on that if you get creative. Everyone has an asset that they could do something unique with. So Liz, that's for you.
Thank you. My wheels are turning.
Right? You can, let's say you're a real estate agent. You can drive Uber on the way to showings, or maybe you have 2 hours where you really don't want to go spend money, drive Uber, drive people around, make a couple $100. Like, you just don't know who needs you until you put yourself out there. Almost all of you, probably not all of you, but many of you have attic space. There are apps where you can rent out your attic space and cash flow on your attic space. I mean, come on, it can't get a lot any simpler than that. Maybe you have an old piece of junk fishing cabin. I promise you guys, your stuff doesn't have to be amazing. There's someone that would love to use that, as long as you advertise it appropriately for what it is, but also say how great it is. You're going to cash flow on that. You can also rent your parking spot. Okay. If you're in a great spot, there is an app where you can post your parking spot, get paid. The person uses it and leaves, and you've gotten paid for, air and dirt. Okay. Like, that's crazy. Very common. You can rent your home while you're on vacation. I know families that every time, they want to do a week-long vacation, they put their home up on Airbnb, they open the calendar for those dates. And many times the renters of their home are going to pay for their vacation. I mean, you can't beat a free vacation. If you have an RV, there's multiple ways to cash flow off of an RV. You can literally park it in your backyard and rent it as a nightly rental on Airbnb or VRBO or something interesting, you can rent it and let people drive it around the country. There are so many ways to do this using the shared economy. Even if you have just a tree house, that is an asset. Make it happen. I promise you, someone would pay for that. If you have enough property to maybe have a billboard or an antenna. My neighbor has an antenna and I don't know what he makes every month, but it's a lot. And I really am very jealous, but that's cash flow for a lifetime. I mean, once you let them put that up and lease them that land, do it. If you have land, maybe your family has land, you never know. I'm sure many of you have heard of Rover. You can walk dogs on your lunch break. I mean, sometimes I used to go spend money on my lunch break just because I was bored, but what a great way to get exercise and also get paid. So you're getting paid to lose weight. And also, when you're not getting paid at work, you're getting paid to walk some dogs. There's all kind of ways to make cash flow. You can rent out your boat. There are so many boat rental apps out there. There's also animal and pet rental, back to cash flowing on your cat. If you don't want to do the whole Insta famous cat thing, there are many sites, especially weddings and different events, that are looking for calm, well-behaved animals to be ring bearers, maybe photo opportunities, maybe the movie company. I mean, there are so many ways to cash flow off of an animal, especially a good animal. If your dog is like insanely crazy, maybe not, but maybe so. The sky's the limit. All right. Let's see. There we go. The year is 2021. And I just want you to know that you can literally grow up to be anything. I remember as a kid, all the parents saying, quit playing video games. You're never going to go anywhere. You're going to be a total loser. Well, I happen to know that there are some gamers out there that make well into the seven figures. They get paid to play video games. Okay. People pay to watch them go kill people online. It's crazy. And if these guys can get paid to be professional video gamers, you can do anything. There are professional TikTokers. This is the TikTok logo, obviously, but the shared economy has literally changed the world. All of the stuff that we were told growing up, you have to do this and you have to do this and you can't do this and you can't do that. It's not true. If you provide a service and that service can be entertainment, you can cash flow on that. So if your unique ability is using your thumbs to kill people online, there's a way to make money off of that. I'm telling you, I've watched it happen myself and it's just like, wow, it's really cool. Like, we have a huge opportunity here. And I really hope every single one of you is going to take advantage of it. The bigger you think, the bigger you're going to be able to grow. The first phase is looking around your house. What's collecting dust? What's not being used? Does somebody want to borrow this from me for a fee? Phase two, look in your community. As an entrepreneur, and I am one myself, it's our job to solve a problem. Okay. The only reason I'm in business is because I am helping people and I'm doing jobs that they don't want to do. They don't want to manage these homes. It's a lot of work. I happily take that for them. Okay. That's just one example. But if you're truly serving people and doing a great job, you're going to have a business. So look for that opportunity. Listen in when people say, we really need this, we really need that. Think, how can I solve that problem? How can I come through with them? And how can I make a profit too? That's a very fair way to make a living, is to provide a service to someone or a community. Phase three that's when you really start changing the world. Like, you got to start small and then you get bigger, and then you're really taking your unique skill and making a difference. Leverage is a huge part of being an investor. I'm sure all of you know this. I mean, real estate is fantastic in that you can take $20,000, you can buy $100,000 house with it, right? And then someone is going to pay off that loan for you. Leverage is huge, but a lot of times you need to have that little launch pad to get you going. It's hard to get 100% leverage, but I really encourage you to take your cash flow, combine it with leverage, and you will very quickly be able to pick up assets, and very nice assets like buildings. So it's important, like I was saying, think outside the box. You want to look at things just a little bit differently. The more creative you are, the more successful you're going to be. Can you double dip on something? Like I was saying, you're doing showings and you're driving Uber. Look for cash flow. Try to make 2 or 3 ways to cash flow off of the same asset. You're going to kill it if you can make it to this. Okay. It's not easy to do, but it is doable. Embrace originality. Like, just don't be afraid to be different. This the shared economy is not be like everybody else. And as long as you fit in, you're fine. The shared economy is stand up on the tallest box you can find and scream from the rooftops, I'm doing this crazy thing. Who wants to pay me to watch? That's the shared economy. Be weird, like embrace it. You also want to hang in there. This is a long-term play. None of what I have personally done with the shared economy or anything else I've seen anyone else do, none of it's going to come in 5 minutes. Okay. You got to enjoy it. You got to want to do it, and you got to hang in there because it's going to take time to get there. But once the snowball starts rolling, you're going to start really seeing the cash build up. Again, you want to solve a problem. If you can solve a problem for people, you're going to very easily make cash flow because they're willing to pay for that to be solved. Then you're going to take the money, you're going to buy assets. That's what we're here to do. Always want you to be looking at assets differently. So let's take a car, for example. Okay, we've talked about this a little bit. All you're looking at right now is you're saying, my car gets me to work. That's it. No, rent your car on Turo when you're not using it. Okay. That's a second use. Now, maybe you're getting your car payment paid. That's cool. Use 3, get paid to drive other people. Did you know you can put into Uber, I'm going to go from point A to point B tomorrow at 8 a.m. and Uber will find you people that want to ride with you. Like you can literally get paid to drive yourself to work. Now your car's an asset. That's huge. So let's say I'm driving someone to work with me every week. I'm making $50 a week on that. And then on the weekends, I share a car with my husband. So I put my car on Turo. That's 2 sources of income off of your car that's sitting in your garage right now, doing nothing. The next thing, lease your parking space. If you have a parking space in a great location and you're at work every day, put the dang thing up on the app. What do you care if someone uses your parking spot while you're at work? Now that's 3 ways of cash flowing off of the same car. This is completely possible. Okay. Just keep being creative with it. Finding the assets. A lot of times that's the hardest part, but hopefully all of you guys are getting ideas as I'm talking and going, oh, you know what? I've got this, I have that. I want to tell you a story. I was in Philadelphia a few years ago and I met the most amazing Uber driver. I was with my family. So it was a pretty good group of us. It was my brother and his family and my family. So we had to get a pretty large Uber because it was 6 of us. So this lady came, she had a car that seats 7. And luckily I got the front seat and I said, I'm in the shared economy too. I'm an Airbnb host. I wanted to talk about Uber. I love hearing Uber driver stories. They have really good stories in case you guys ever get in one. Always ask for stories. So I like to do that. And she was telling me how much she loves the shared economy. And she was a stay-at-home mom. And she found out that the best money on Uber was to have a large car, that seats 7. And so that's exactly what she did. She went and bought one. So she drives her car during the day or in the evening. She makes great money. She goes, for the days I don't feel like driving, she said, I sit on my couch, I put my feet up, and some other Uber driver rents my vehicle for $250 a day. Okay. She gets paid $250 a day to sit on her couch because her car is like Uber XL, I think is what they call it. And I'm like, no way. And she said, yeah. And she goes, P.S. I'm taking you guys over here, but I've got food in the back. She's running Uber Eats and stuff as she's running Uber people around. So she's literally making double the money. And I'm like, you're a genius. Like I was so impressed with this person. And she said, oh, I'm not done. She said, I get paid to go on vacation. And I said, what? Same car. Okay. One car. That's all she owns. She doesn't even own her home. She has a car. I said, how do you get paid to go on vacation? She said, I love to go to Florida. She lives in Philadelphia. Love to go to Florida. She said, I go twice a year. I pack up my family and there's these apps where you tell them, this is where I'm going. And this is the cubic meters of trunk space that I have, which for her was pretty good. She has an SUV, but it works for any vehicle. Okay. She posts it on these apps. She finds the best fee. She puts a package or 3 or 7 in her trunk and takes it to Florida with her because it's going basically to the same spot, maybe the same city, obviously not the exact same. She gets paid to drive it down. And then when she's in Florida, she posts again, she gets paid to bring the packages back. So she and her family are in the car. She's got paid stuff in the back. She gets home with more money than she left with. And she went to Florida for the week. Like I promise you guys, this is regular people doing regular things and using the shared economy.
Hey, Julie,
yes.
For some reason, just to let you know that I don't know if what's on this screen is look at income differently. So is that what you're intending? Okay, gotcha. Finding your assets, I think is next.
Okay. Did I mess up? We're supposed to be at sources of
Because
income.
I can hear you clicking and it wasn't advancing. I just wanted to give you
Here we
embrace
go.
the weird.
I
Multiple
apologize.
sources? No worries. I just want to
We're
make you
good?
aware.
Okay.
Hey,
So
quick question
yes.
too, Ginny. Hey, Ginny, has a question. Is actually a question that popped into my head too. Do you have to have special insurance for? I'm sure it depends on the different strategies, but in general, right? You start to
Mhm.
get into renting out things, especially in your home. I
Mhm.
don't know. Have you come across that in terms of just
Yes.
okay?
If you're using these larger companies, they already have it for you. Turo is a great example. They have amazing insurance for your car. Airbnb is a great example. They have insurance. Like, yes, there's always, that's a very good question. And we can talk about it, especially for homes, it gets complicated. But yes, you do want to make sure about insurance for sure. But if you're using a big enough company, they're already ready for that. And that's a big deal. So for real estate, you hear a lot of people talk about how many doors they have, and that's fine. But I just want to encourage you guys to be thinking in sources of income, not doors. Okay. Doors is fine. And that's great for bragging rights when you're in real estate communities. But if you want to impress me, you say, I have 28 sources of income. Maybe you only have two doors, but you want to think in sources of income. So even if you have a source of income that's $25 and another one that's $900, that's two sources of income. That's a big deal. And a lot of times, some of these sources are passive and it all comes together. So if you think in terms of sources of income, not how many doors do I have? I feel like a loser. I only have one. No, you might have 28 sources of income. All right. So just if you can kind of shift your mindset just a little bit on that, it's very helpful because I've seen real estate investors get down sometimes because of focusing on the number of doors, and it's very hard to say, oh, Liz has 200 doors, I only have four. Quit thinking about that. It doesn't matter. It's all about sources of income. That's how I see it. My thing is really delayed. I'm so sorry. Hopefully there we go. Also, as I have said previously, I want to all of you embrace the weird. Like if you can be a little bit different in this business, you stand out more. And that's the beauty of the shared economy. I have a house with giant watermelons painted everywhere and people enjoy it. It's a short-term rental. Why would you want to stay in a white box with gray furniture? Like, boring. I'd rather be a little bit weird, have them take great photos while they're there and say, look at this crazy watermelon house or whatever it is. I have a house named Cake. Like Cake? So what? Like it's weird. I like that it's weird, but people go, I want to stay there because it's a house about cake, you know? Um, and I also want to say, don't be afraid to swim against a stream. People that have been laughed at are also named Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson. I mean, these guys have taken it on the chin publicly, but they're billionaires. Like they became billionaires because they were a little bit weird. And I don't mean that in a negative. I mean, they were not afraid to be different than everybody else. I mean, some of the stuff Richard Branson has done for, media, it's crazy, but he gets it done. And everybody knows his name and everyone knows the name of his company. And, I heard a great story about Elon Musk. People were laughing at him when he launched SpaceX. And look at him now. He just sent the first tourist to the moon, So don't be afraid to be a little bit out there. I definitely am. So I just wanted to make sure and point that out. Like, don't feel like you have to fit into the crowd. Try to stand out from the crowd, especially with the shared economy. That is the conclusion of my very weird, embracing the weird, I should probably call it, presentation. I really hope that you guys, have learned something. And I definitely, any questions that you can think of, I'm here. I would love to talk to any of you if I can be of service. Like, I really believe in the shared economy. And I'm sure many of you guys have really awesome skills that I can't even think of. So, and please join me in relaunching Airbnb. I think that's my mini campaign.
I Googled it. I Googled it while you were talking. And
Yep.
I didn't find anything. So that's fascinating.
Oh gosh, I want that so bad. I'm gonna have to get in on that. So we'll figure it out. Well, maybe we can, if I can start a signature campaign, Liz, would it be terrible to put that on the investor Facebook page?
Absolutely. You have my absolute go for it. I love it.
We can change the world one toilet at a time. Okay.
Julie, and I have like a ton of questions
Okay.
selfishly. One toilet, I'd love it. I have a few questions I want to field, before we forget, please, share your contact info with the
Okay.
ladies again, if you can.
Do you want me to put it in the chat or do you want me to?
Yeah. Or yeah, that'd be great. Or you could put it
Okay.
up on the screen, either way.
And you guys, I'm on the Facebook community on for investors. So I mean, anytime if you post a question, I will definitely try to see it. And if any, you can tag me. But
And
yes, I'm going to post
Julie's
my
going to be launching the Savannah, Georgia, investor meetup too.
yes.
So stay tuned on that. I'm going to be your first speaker because I just want to come to Savannah so badly.
Awesome. You better be staying with me.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna invite myself. So let's go
Good.
back to this topic because Jamie, you have a question. Thank you. Please ask away. I selfishly have a few questions, but Jamie's asking, is there an overall site or resource for these side hustle companies? It's a really good question. Like, is there like almost like a clearinghouse of some sort that you can, you know, not clearinghouse, but is just one overall resource where you can kind of say, okay, if I want to rent this out, I go here, or is it just kind of piecemeal? You have to piecemeal it.
There's not. The shared economy is based on a million lone wolves. And some of them get to be huge and some of them you never hear about. But
Interesting.
I would love to say that maybe we should start one. Okay, Jamie, do it and I'll help you. But the shared economy is definitely for people that are just a little bit out there. I mean, these guys that started Airbnb, they started with one air mattress and they've changed the world. Okay. You guys can too. They're staying in their lane, but no, I don't know of one source. You literally, it's just fun to hear about. And from now on, I think you guys are going to hear stuff and go, oh my gosh, that's the shared economy.
Yeah.
I think we've been hearing about it so much we just didn't realize. But just keep your ears open. I think you'll be amazed at what you learn about people cash flowing on.
Well, and success leaves clues, right? Jamie, you're super creative. I know you, Jamie, well. She's accepting the challenge.
Good.
You're super creative.
An Etsy store, you guys. Etsy has been huge for stay-at-home moms. I don't know why I didn't mention it. That's the shared economy.
Yeah.
Etsy gets a cut. I make a necklace. Etsy gets a cut. I don't care. I sell the necklace to someone. I make $20. They make $2. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're providing a service.
Well, so tell me a little bit about the concept, because I feel like what's always fascinating to me when I talk to different people is I'm always intrigued with the recipe. There's a recipe, right? And I think what you're saying, there's a recipe, and it's like when someone like buys a new car and they're just like, I got this new car, and you're like, I've never seen that before. And then the next day, what do you see everywhere? That car. So it didn't mean that the car appeared out of nowhere. It's just your awareness has been piqued. There's a psychological term to that, right? So what you're sharing with us tonight, like all of our awarenesses are now piqued. Right. You look at opportunities everywhere. Now I'm super intrigued, right? My point in saying this is that watching people play video games or watching people do things. Tell us a little more about that. What that looks like and how you charge for that, and where do you charge for that?
Okay.
I'm not familiar with that. And I'm curious, because there's a recipe there, there's an interest there. I want to learn more about that.
Okay. I'm going to tell you something that you're probably familiar with yourself. It is possible right now to have video your child playing with toys, put it on YouTube and sell ads. Are you with me?
Good point. Yeah.
Is this the shared economy?
Yeah.
I mean, my toddler is now an asset, right?
Really good point.
Now I get 200 people, subscribing. Now Play School is going to send me toys for free. Johnny's going to play with that preschool toy and make it fun. And I'm then going to profit from the ad revenue. I mean, that is a perfect example of the concept. You didn't realize that was the shared economy, but it is like YouTube. The guys at Google have changed the world, but all it started with was a bunch of bad cat videos. I mean, seriously, that's like that. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. You don't even really have to be that creative. You just have to go, well, this is fun. Let me see if anybody else thinks it's fun.
I love it. The other interesting with the video, I don't know why, because my son is now in second grade, so all he wants to do is play video games. So my awareness of video games has been piqued, but I call it a game truck. The trucks that come around with a game.
Yeah.
And I talked to a gentleman yesterday, and he wasn't going to travel as far to my house, but we had a half-hour conversation because I was so intrigued, because he's like, I get so many calls, business is booming. So of course, like the entrepreneur in me, I'm like, I think we need to own some game trucks. It's just so fascinating about how well that's doing, because people just want, it's just so it's so interesting. I know that's a little different than the shared economy, but it made me think of that.
Well, and ask your son. He'll know, I promise you. There's a site, I think it's called Twitch. And these kids get on it and they'll watch these professional gamers play, and people are sending him donations while he's playing. You'll see $5, $12, $200. And they become sponsored on this site called, I had never heard of Twitch before, but every boy knows about it. And whatever game they're into, they will sit and watch someone else play that game. I have no interest whatsoever, but these guys make a name for themselves. They get the viewers, and then the sponsors follow, and they make some serious cash. And then they do these huge gaming tournaments, if you can believe this. And so people pay to get in. And what my kids have gotten in to see these tournaments, they're so excited to see these 6 awesome guys play Fortnite or whatever. I have 2 sons. I'm sorry, I tend to know boy stuff. But yeah, these guys are getting paid well into the 7 figures. I mean, $17 million if you win a Fortnite tournament. What? How is that legal? But they're providing a service. They're entertaining millions of kids. Like, the kids love it. And the more viewers they get, the more money they make.
That's fascinating. So question, and I'm going to I have selfishly a bunch of questions, and then we'll be mindful of everyone's time. Renting out your house, right? If you're, to me, that makes sense, right? So now I've thought of it, but you're making me think about it again, because we're thinking about traveling a little bit more next summer. What have you seen to be like, it's your house, right? So parties, like, you really want to make sure everything kind of locked away, just like you would. But assessing different things, like to your point, when you're assessing, okay, is this something I can make some money with? What would be some first steps that we can take, what women can take to say, okay, is there a need? I think there's a need, but would my house even rent? I think it would, because I'm in a cute little area that's kind of a destination. But it's a little off the beaten path, would people come up here? So what would be some initial steps that women can take, whether it's your, renting out your kitchen or your house, or just exploring the opportunity? What could be some like out of the box ways we can start to say, okay, is there some, almost doing your market research, if you will? What are some ways to do that? Or how have you done it to say, is there a need for this before I, start doing it?
As far as renting out your house, you're not going to know for sure until you really try it. But you can start just getting on Airbnb or VRBO or one of these sites and seeing how many listings are near you. Okay. If there are hardly any, I'd tell you there's a huge need. And if there are tons, I'd tell you there's a huge need.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, obviously I live on some acreage, right? And I never thought anyone would want to stay, because like there's just trees to look at and squirrels. But especially during COVID, I had people coming out of the walls to stay on property because they so desperately wanted a yard. But if you live in a city and you're near, this great museum, then of course there's a need for that. Like, short-term housing is a big deal, and people don't want to stay in hotels anymore. So if your house is moderately cute, in good shape, you enjoy the decor. If it's desirable or not. If you just really feel like, oh gosh, I could never, well, that's okay. But you could also get paid to fix your house up because it's now a business expense. Maybe I say, hey, I desperately want a new kitchen, and I'm going to Airbnb my home. I'm going to clean it, make it as nice as possible. We're going to disappear whenever I get a booking, and I'm going to save that money for new cabinets. Like, that's fantastic. Like, that's such a motivator. I know families that literally have their home up, and as soon as they get a booking, they leave and they go stay with grandma. Like, they don't leave all the time. You don't have to do it. The rule is there are no rules. Okay. You set the rules. You are completely in charge of yourself, your assets, your time, your calendar. So
I love it. I love it. Well, Julie, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I love the concept of, I love what you said in so many different things. You said, let's not get so concerned about doors. Let's get concerned about how many ways we're making money, how many cash flow opportunities we have. And I think that's such a great way. Andres and I talk about that so many times on our community, our podcast, but just like people get so, how many doors you own? It's just like so very bravado. But really it's about how, not only are you making cash flow, but how many streams of cash flow do you have on one asset? That's a really great way of looking at things, a little differently than just like one door, one way of cash flow, and then we move on to the next asset. And think about how much time and energy it takes for all of us to buy one asset. It takes a lot of time and energy. So you got my wheels turning on some of our multifamily. I'm
Good.
like, what do we, I'm like, are we gonna do? I have like one property is right on the highway. I'm like, that could be a, so you're talking about billboards. I'm like, we could be renting out a
Right.
billboard. So you got my wheels turning, but I think it's a
Right.
great concept. I think it's a really great concept for us to take
Well,
away.
and with real estate, so many people will say, I'm just going to be ridiculous, but they're going to say, I have 10,000 doors. Okay. If someone tells you that, they probably own a portion of that. Am I right? I mean, very few
Absolutely.
guys or women own completely whatever
100%.
door number they
Absolutely.
tell you. Rarely do they actually own every door outright. It's like I'm in a partnership and I have $1,000 in, and these other guys have 6 million. Don't brag to me about that. Like I feel like that's very misleading. I get that everybody wants to sound this or that, but
Right.
that's where I love to say I have 48 sources of income off of 3 assets.
That's right
Now
there.
you've got my attention.
I love it. I love it. You got our wheels turning. And
Good.
like Julie said, she's active in our community. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom tonight and sharing your ideas and just getting us thinking outside of the box, because
Right.
I've been doing this a long time and sometimes we can get very inside the box. So you know, for newer investors that are on, for people who've been doing this a long time, you know, it's about expanding what you think is possible and looking at things a little differently. So thank you so
You're
much for
welcome.
being on.
And
Um,
I'm living this. I have assets that I bought using the shared economy. I want to be very clear about that. It's changed my life, and I know it can do the same for everybody.
yeah, Krista said, thank you. Thanks for being on here, Krista. Vera. Hey, Vera. Great info. Hey, Ginny. So good. Thank you. So everyone's saying thank you so much. So thank you
Oh,
so much for your time. Ladies, thank you so much for being on and sharing your night with us. We're always all about empowering you to live financially free and balanced life, and doing it creatively and fun and out of the box was definitely the theme tonight. And that's what we're all leaving with. So very good stuff. Thanks again so much, Julie, for being on. And we'll see everyone around our community and more stuff happen the rest of the fall here. So thank you.
thank
Take care,
you.
everyone.